Let's get straight to CB Cotton, live in New York City with the latest on Zohramamdani's big win. CB.
Todd, Carly, good morning. 34-year-old self-described Democratic socialist Zohramamdani is now New York City's youngest mayor in more than a century. His closest competitor in the polls, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, called his own run, quote, the right fight to wage. Cuomo, who ran as an independent and had President Trump's last-minute endorsement, narrowed the gap in the final days of campaigning, but it was not enough. Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa remained a distant third for most of the race and resisted calls to drop out. Last night when he conceded, he said if socialism is implemented, quote, we will become the mayor-elect and his supporters' worst enemy. As for Mamdani himself, he took a much less diplomatic tone than the one he had on the trail, leading his supporters in chants about free buses, rent freezes, and universal child care.
One may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hand. If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. A democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Okay, so last night, the race was called for Mamdani with 50.4% of the vote. Todd, Carly, back to you.
All right, CB Cotton live for us in New York City. CB, thank you. Let's bring in Wall Street Journal editorial board member Mene Ukueberuwa. Mene, it was decision day yesterday. Decisions were made. And this morning, the New York Post puts it this way. They say, on your marks, M-A-R-X, get set, Zo. Mamdani wins race for mayor, the red apple. So now that he's won, what does this mean, and will there be a ripple effect?
Well, I think the ripple effect is already taking place throughout the entire Democratic Party. People were watching Mamdani's candidacy in New York to see, is a candidate this far to the left really viable? Can they get a broad base of support? Now, New York City isn't like the rest of America, that's for sure. It's a much more liberal place. But I think that there's already a lot of donors thinking we can run Mamdani copycats, people who are really, really clever with social media, people who are going to promise free benefits to voters. And that's the playbook that they're going to have going into the midterm elections in 2026.
Okay, but that said, will it work outside of New York City?
I don't think so. I frankly think that you're going to see a lot of people watching closely what Mamdani does, trying to implement things like free buses. We know that's going to create a lot of chaos and homelessness, watching things like free grocery stores. And around the country, they're going to be seeing these results playing out poorly in New York City and saying, we don't want to replicate that all around the country. So I think Democrats might be preparing to run a playbook in the midterms that's not exactly going to pay off for them.
Okay, so during his speech last night, you heard it. Mamdani went directly after President Trump. I know you're watching. 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. And then on Truth Social, President Trump responded also with 4 words, writing, and so it begins. So what will the Mamdani-President Trump dynamic be? And do you think that the president should intervene in New York City by withholding federal funds, which is something that he has said he will do?
Well, I think that there's going to be a lot of tit for tat. We are just seeing the beginning of it. These two are going to be sniping at each other, and it's going to be covered far and wide. In terms of what President Trump tries to do with New York City, I think it depends on what Mamdani's approach actually is. Things like sanctuary city policy policies, saying we're not going to cooperate with federal law enforcement on deporting illegal immigrants. That's something that the federal government really does have an interest in. And so President Trump would be well within his rights to say, we're not going to give you all this aid that's potentially going to go to pay for illegal migrants if you are going to completely stonewall us from keeping the residents of New York City safe and deporting people who aren't supposed to be in this country.
Looking ahead to 1 year from today, or from yesterday, the 2026 elections. You mentioned in your first answer that there's going to be a year to find out what Zohramamdani does to this city. And then the voters throughout the country can extrapolate from that whether they want that in their communities. So 2 questions for you. What do you think that specifically means for the midterms in terms of who takes over the House or who maintains the House in the Republican sense? And Governor of New York, because Elise Stefanik probably going to run. If it's not like a guarantee, it's a fait accompli at this point. Does she say, look what Zohramamdani did to New York City. Do you want that spread throughout the great state of New York? If not, vote for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. The winds are clearly blowing strongly in the Democrats' direction here. Mamdani wasn't the only winner on Election Day. You also saw New Jersey and Virginia. They won those governorships. There's a lot of disappointment with how Trump has performed in some of these states. And so Democrats are in a strong position going into midterms to potentially reclaim the House of Representatives, especially. But I do think Mamdani is going to help give Republicans their best possible shot, because they'll be able to point to a very extreme Democrat in America's biggest city and say, this is the direction that Democrats want to take the entire country. Elise Stefanik in New York running for governor is going to specifically be pointing to Mamdani, the effect that his governor or that his candidacy has on crime and things like that in New York City, and going to be making that pitch to say we need to go in a different direction here in New York State.
Yeah, it was a good night for Democrats, but now that Mamdani has won, the whole party is going to have to answer for socialism, and we'll see how that goes over the course of the next year. Now that the election has passed, we're officially in midterm election cycle. Can you believe it? The time has come.
It just goes on.
It is now. Wall Street Journal editorial board member Mene Ukueberuwa, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.